Hare Krishna. So, welcome back, everyone. Welcome to our Bhagavad Gita class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणीं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Once again, welcome everyone to our Tuesday evening Bhagavad Gita discussion. So, if everybody remembers, last time we were discussing chapter 4, text number, I believe, 19 through 23 or something like that we discussed last time, where Krishna is talking about how one should be acting in this material world. And Krishna mentions many different sutras, how we should act in this material world by not getting attached to the results of our activity, not being the proprietor, having the mindset of free from duality, without envy, without the sense of ownership, without any expectations. So, like that, Krishna gives many sutra for removing the reactions of our activity, how to perform a karma in this material world. So one was free from the desire of sense gratification, kama sankalpa varjita. Another one was tyakta karam phala sangha, nitya tripto nirashraya. So free from desire of sense enjoyment, free from the attachment to the result of one's action, free from the proprietorship mentality. So now, after stating all these different sutras, how one should work in this material world, now Krishna is giving one another very wonderful point here in the next set of verses, text 24 through text 33 onwards. Krishna is speaking about the principle of yajna. Through the principle of yajna, what Krishna is mentioning here is the principle of sacrifice. Yajna means sacrifice, giving up something for a higher purpose. Okay, so this text 24 is a very symbolic verse, is a very indirect way Krishna is telling that all our activities should be done in Krishna consciousness, in God consciousness, by remembering Krishna, by seeing Krishna in all the different elements, in all different activities. So this is very important verse actually, text 24. If we can understand the meaning of this text 24, the real instruction which Krishna is giving in text 24, I think text 25 through 30 are just the different examples of sacrifices which Krishna is mentioning. So text 24, let's read it and recite it few times. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmeva tena gantavyam Brahma karma samadhina. So if anybody would like to recite this verse, please do so, and we will try to recite maybe a few times as call and response method also. Anybody will like to try?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I'll recite. Brahmarpanam Brahma Havir Brahmagno Brahmarpanam Brahma Havir Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Prabhuji, I can try.
Sure.
Brahmarpanam Brahma Havir Brahma now Hutam Brahmanevatena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina.
Okay, thank you, Rahul. So let's do a couple of time in call and response. Brahmanam Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir
Brahmarpanam Brahma Havir
Brahmagno Brahmanahutam
Brahmagno Brahmahotana
Evatena Gantavyam
Menate Gantavyam
Yevatena Gantaryam
Brahma Karma Samadhina.
Brahma Karma Samadhina.
Okay, so let's do one more time. Okay, so just focus and try to repeat. Brahma Arpanam Brahmahavir
Brahma
Brahmahinam Brahmahaver
Brahmagno Brahmanahutam
Brahma
Brahmagno Brahmanautam
Brahmevatena Gantavyam
Brahmaiva
Brahma Karma Samadhina.
Brahma
Brahmakarma Samadhina.
Okay, so what is the translation of this verse? For those who are completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness, the act of offering is Brahman, the oblation is Brahman, the fire of sacrifice is Brahman, the offering itself is Brahman. For a person who views everything as Brahman, easily attains him. Okay, so Vijay Prabhu, I'm going to keep you on mute because I think you are traveling or something. Okay, so again, translation. For those who are completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. So Brahma Karma Samadhina. Okay, so that is the translation of this part, Brahma Karma Samadhina. For those who are completely absorbed in, here if we take the direct word, it says Brahman, right? Brahma Karma Samadhina, whose all the activities are completely dedicated to Brahma. So here Prabhupada translates as who are completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Their act of offering is Brahman, Brahma Arpanam. Okay, so their act of offering is Brahman, Brahma Havir. Havir means the samagri, the ahuti, which is done in the fire sacrifice. So the oblation is Brahman, Brahmana Hutam. Brahma Agno. So the fire itself is also Brahman. Then Brahmana Hutam, the offering is Brahman. Brahmeva Tena Gantavya. So for that person, Brahman is easily attained. Now here, if we see in this verse, Krishna is using the word Brahman 6 times. Okay, and people who are inclined to Brahmavad, who are inclined to the impersonal aspect of the Lord, they get very excited by hearing these sort of verses which Krishna is mentioning. But Krishna want to attract all sort of people. Krishna want to attract people who are interested in Brahmavad, who are Mayavadi, impersonalist, or people who are attached to the Ashtanga Yoga process, impersonalism, etc., or people who are attached to the Karmavad philosophy. So Krishna want to attract all sort of people. So certain verses in Bhagavad Gita are for that purpose, to kind of attract everybody. So here, when Krishna is using the word Brahma, it's not that Krishna is specifically talking about impersonal aspect of the Lord, that Brahman is the highest goal. Here in in chapter 14, one verse comes specifically where Arjuna asked, so what is the supreme goal? Is Brahman the goal, or are you should be my supreme goal? And Krishna answers there saying, this Brahman is also actually coming from me. I am the source of this Brahman also. So when we are talking about Brahman here, it's ultimately aspect of Krishna. It's leading us to Krishna, just like the light bulb. A light bulb is a source of light, and when we turn on the light bulb, the light of the bulb is spread throughout the room. So this light which is coming from the light bulb is spread everywhere. This light itself does not have any form, but this light is making us see many different forms in the room. So the light itself does not have any form, but the source of that light is the light bulb. Same way, this Brahman is the impersonal aspect of the Lord as the light emanating from the body of the Lord. And Krishna is like that light bulb, which is giving that all light, that all what people refer as Brahma Jyoti, Prakash, energy, Shakti, whatever people different names refer to. But Krishna is ultimately the source of that. So here also when Krishna is mentioning here Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir, Brahmagnau, Brahmanahutam, Brahmeva tena gantavya, Brahma karma samadhina. When somebody is completely absorbed in Brahman, or as the Vaishnava Siddhanta, the Vaishnava Acharya, they give the commentary here, everything is related to Krishna. So for all these verses, which has indirect meanings, the Vaishnava Acharyas, they lead to the personal feature of Krishna. So in this verse, what this verse really talking about is the concept of sacrifice. As the conditioned soul, we all are entangled in this material world. We are all entangled in material contamination. And in that way, we are sure to act in this material atmosphere. But somehow we need to get out of this environment, get out of this material contamination. And the process by which the conditioned soul can get out of this material atmosphere is Krishna consciousness. Okay, for example, a patient is suffering because of the disorder of the bowel movement, maybe overindulgence in milk product. And but that same disorder of bowel movement can be cured by another milk product, which is yogurt. So same way, this material energy is there, but rather than entangling with the material energy, if while living in this world, we can utilize that all the resources in service of Krishna, then we can cure our diseased condition, this material contamination. So the materially absorbed conditioned soul can be cured by the process of yajna. Yajna means sacrifice. Sacrifice for Lord Vishnu, sacrifice for Lord Krishna. And all the activities are simply meant for satisfaction of Vishnu or Krishna, and more our activities in this material world, they are performed in Krishna consciousness, more the atmosphere becomes spiritualized. Okay, so human life is meant for sacrifice. Human life is meant for austerity. That is the ultimate conclusion of the Shastras. Human life is not meant for sense indulgence, sense enjoyment, as the animals also do. So here, the Brahman referred is not impersonal Brahma Jyoti, but it means spiritual. That is a simple, literal meaning of Brahman also. Okay, that is mean spiritual. When somebody's activities are spiritual, when they see everything as spiritual, then they attain to spiritual destination. So that is the literal meaning of Brahman, as being spiritual. And in our context, spiritual means Krishna consciousness. When all our activities become Krishna consciousness, we see Krishna in all the activities. We offer everything to Krishna, then our ultimate destination is Krishna. So by sacrifice, we spiritualize our activities. Now, in this verse, if one understands that all Krishna's energy, either one can use it for spiritual purpose or for sense gratification. Ultimately, everything is Krishna's energy. Either so far we have been using all these different resources which are part of Krishna's energy for our own sense enjoyment, for our own gratification. But once we start utilizing all these resources for Krishna's service, then we make it kind of spiritual. We turn it into spiritual purpose. Now, in this context, what this verse really mean when Krishna says Brahma Arpanam, making our activities into spiritual activities, making our activities dedicated for Krishna. It could be the activity of taking bath, it could be the activity of eating, it could be the activity of doing our office chore or household chores. So all these activities can be made into spiritual activities. That means Brahma Arpanam. So all our activities become dedicated to Krishna. So here the concept of yajna, Krishna is just utilizing the example of yajna. Okay, yajna means like havan, fire sacrifice. So Krishna is just utilizing that as an example for people to understand. So as in the yajna, there is 5 different elements there in yajna. One is the performer of yajna. Either it could be the purohit and the yajman, both, right? Both comes under this category of the performer of yajna. Then there is oblations, which is done in the yajna, the ahuti, the samagri of yajna. It could be ghee, grains, whatever is samagri put into the yajna. Then the third element of yajna is the fire in the yajna, the agni. The fourth element of yajna is the ladle with which the ahuti is put into the fire, right? When the ghee is offered or butter is offered into the fire, that ladle. And then the fifth element of yajna is the purpose of yajna, the result desired out of that yajna. So the 4 elements are seen, 4 elements are visible. The fifth element of yajna is invisible. The intention behind doing that yajna, that's invisible, right? That's in the heart of the performer. So there are these 5 elements of yajna, and Krishna says when all these 5 elements of yajna become Brahman, become spiritualized, become Krishna, then the result is also completely spiritual. So making our activities into spiritual, first of all, that is Brahma Arpanam. So as I said, taking bath or eating or doing our household chores or our office chores. So all these activities doing for pleasing Krishna. So taking bath means I am cleaning my body to engage in service of Krishna. Taking prasad means I am eating the food which has been offered to Krishna to maintain this body which is given by Krishna so that I can utilize this body in service of Krishna. So when with that intention, with that thought process, all activities are done, that becomes Brahmarpanam. Okay, so next word which used here is Brahma Havir. Havir means oblation. So oblation is like the ghee, butter, or any grains which are offered in the fire. So what is the contextual meaning of this Brahma Havir? What does this Brahma Havir really represent in our regular activities to engage in Krishna services? It represents Sankalpa. Okay, so Brahma Havir represents our Sankalpa. Because to engage in any spiritual activity, we need to have that Sankalpa. Sankalpa means that resolution, that determination, that yes, I will do everything for Krishna. For example, when we take the Sankalpa of following the 4 regulative principles, no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, okay, no illicit relation. So all those are like a Sankalpa. No matter what, I'm going to follow these principles. Or the principle of not eating outside. I'm not going to eat anything outside. I'm not going to eat anything with onion or garlic. So all that is like our sankalpa. No matter what situation come, I do not want to break this sankalpa. Either I'm traveling or I'm visiting relatives. So in all these situation, I want to fulfill my sankalpa of eating only Krishna Prasad or not eating any of the things which can break the four regulative principle. So in that way, keeping our sankalpa, that is what represents Brahma Havir. Because in a yajna, the Havir, the oblations which are put into the fire, those are the basis of doing that yajna, right? As long as the oblations are there, the ghee is poured into the fire, that fire is going on, that yajna is going on. So same way for our spiritual activities to continue, that sankalpa has to be there. If the sankalpa is not there, we cannot continue with our spiritual activities. So no matter what, I want to continue with my sankalpa. I want to fulfill these vows. Just for an example, the sankalpa of not eating outside or not eating anything beyond apart from Krishna Prasad. But how do we maintain that sankalpa in some practical situations? Let's say you are traveling or you are visiting your friends or relatives. So how do we maintain that sankalpa? For that, we have to be intelligent, right? That's why Krishna consciousness is doing all the activities by utilizing our intelligence. So for traveling, maybe you have to carry some food from home, so you are not into a situation that where you are forced to eat outside. So either you fast for 24 hours, 48 hours. If you cannot, then you will be ultimately end up eating outside, whatever is possible, whatever is available. So better is to carry something with us, so in certain situations, circumstances, at least you have something. Or when you are visiting your relatives, friends, now we do not want to show to the world that, oh, we cannot accept anything from you because something like you are untouchable. Or so people may become very offended. Oh, why this person is not eating anything at my home? Is it that we are some sort of untouchable or what? So we do not have to offend other peoples to the degree that they turn away from Krishna consciousness. At the same time, we do not want to break our sankalpa also. So the principle is, जैसे बोलते हैं कि सांप भी मर जाए और लाठी भी नहीं टूटे. So same way we have to utilize the principles here. So when we visit somebody's home, let's say you don't want to accept food, especially if they are eating non-veg also, they are utilizing other things also. So you definitely, we don't want to eat grains. So you can take a plate and just take some fruits or salad or just take some juice or things like that. So having a plate in your hand, they are satisfied that yes, this person is eating. So no matter if you're eating only fruit or salad, right? At least they see the plate in your hand and they think, yes, this person is eating. Otherwise, they think, oh, why this person is not eating at all? What happened? And then there will be all sort of discussion and all sort of arguments. So rather than getting into all those arguments, better is to just utilize our little intelligence and satisfy them also and not break our principles also. So Brahma Havir oblation, it represents our sankalpa in our day-to-day Krishna conscious activities. Then Brahma Aganir, Brahma Agni. Now, what does Agni represent here? What Krishna is mentioning, that represents our enthusiasm. Because as for the fire sacrifice, the Agni is the basis, right? You are putting the oblations for this Agni to continue. So same way, our sankalpa is there, but along with the sankalpa, what is needed is our enthusiasm. So best thing to progress in Krishna consciousness is enthusiasm. As it is said, the best service you can do to your teachers, to your mentors, is to not lose your enthusiasm. That will be your best service to them. Because otherwise, if we do not have that enthusiasm and the person is just spending so much time, so much energy on us, and we are just like a dead person sitting there, and they are coming and giving their so much time and all, but there is no enthusiasm, then what is the use? So best service we can do to our superiors is to maintain our enthusiasm in our spiritual life. So this Brahma Agnir, it represents our enthusiasm in our Krishna conscious activities. So if we have these ingredients in our Krishna conscious life, which is our sankalpa, our enthusiasm, and doing all the activities for pleasure of Krishna, to satisfy Krishna, then with that, when all our activities become centered around Krishna, then we can attain Krishna. Brahma eva tena gantavyam. So Brahma Arpanam, that is the most important aspect here. Brahma Arpanam means offering everything for Krishna, doing all our activities for pleasure of Krishna. Now there is so many different examples of Arpanam by so many different wonderful devotees. The best example given is example of gopis. What was gopis Arpanam to Krishna? Because Krishna says, right, Madarpanam, Tyakta Jivanam. So Krishna says to Uddhava, they have given up everything. They have given up their lives for me. What was Gopi's sacrifice for Krishna? What was Gopi's Arpanam to Krishna? They offered their security, the best security, which is their family, their home. They were, all these gopis, they were household women, right? They were married, most of them as a married woman. And when Krishna called them for rasa dance, playing his flute on the Sharad Purnima night, all the gopis, they left their homes, they left their families, they left their children, somebody left their parents, and also, and they went to see Krishna. And if we have to see from current situation or in journal world situation, it will be like a breaking news. Oh, these women, they left their home to go see somebody as a third person, or somebody as outside person, outside man. It will be a sensational kind of a breaking news. But here, these gopis, their arpanam to Krishna is they just left their best security, what was the most important thing for them, in service of Krishna, to please Krishna, to satisfy Krishna. So that is gopis arpanam to Krishna. See, it's not about, arpanam doesn't mean that we offer something to Krishna which may not be of much importance to us anyways. Like sometimes people say, okay, I will give up something in this particular month. And sometimes people say, oh, I will stop eating eggplant for this 1 month. Anyways, I don't like to eat eggplant. So what is the big deal about giving up eating eggplant? So when we say sacrificing something to Krishna means what is very dear to us, right? Giving up something which is very dear to you. So like in Kartik month, many people, they give up eating sweets because sweets are very dear. They're very attached to eating sweets. So giving up sweets means giving up something which is very dear to us. So that is something as a sacrifice for Krishna. So gopis sacrifice their life security for Krishna. And then the another example is the Yagik Brahmana Patanis. Right? Krishna, when he was with his Gopa friends in the forest, all the cowherd boys, they become hungry. And Krishna that time told them, okay, at little distance, there are so many Yagik Brahmanas are there. They are going to perform a fire sacrifice. You go and ask them for the offerings. See, this Yagya has not started yet. It's not that the Yagik Brahmanas, they have performed their Yagyas, now everything is done, and some prasadam is lying around, and the Gopa boys went and asked them, okay, give some remnants to us. It's not the remnants, it's the bhoga, which is going to be offered for the fire sacrifice. So Krishna has sent the boys before this yajna is performed, because ultimately, who is the Yagyapati? Krishna himself, he is the Yagyapati, right? He is the enjoyer of the sacrifice of yajna. So Krishna sent these cowherd boys to the Brahmanas to receive those offerings, but the Brahmanas denied. And then later Krishna told the Gopa boys, go to the wives of the Brahmanas. So second time when the boys went to the wives of the Brahmanas, what did the Brahmana Patnis do? See, the duty of Brahmana Patnis, the wives of the Brahmanas, is to serve their husbands. Their husbands are performing this yajna, and their wives are helping them in this yajna by preparing a lot of offerings, by making all other arrangements. So the duty of those Brahmana Patnis was service to their husbands, service to those yogic Brahmanas. But when the boys went to this Brahmana Patnis, they did not think about anything. They took all those pots, all those offerings which were prepared, they just took everything and went to meet Krishna. Krishna had not even invited them, right? Like the gopis. Gopis were invited by Krishna. But here, the Brahmana Patnis, Krishna had not even invited. Krishna sent the boys only to receive some food offerings. But this Brahmana Patnis, they picked up all the pots filled with all those offerings and they personally brought to Krishna. So what this Yajna Brahmana Patnis offered to Krishna was not just the food, that was their service, which was reserved for the Brahmanas to their husbands. They offered that service to Krishna. So that was their arpanam to Krishna. And we know the example of Shabari. What was Shabari's arpanam to Lord Ramachandra? Shabari, when we hear the word Shabari, immediately what comes to the mind next thing is bear. Shabari offered bear. So, but was offering of those berries was the arpanam of Shabari? Did Shabari just offer those bear to Lord Ramachandra? Was that her arpanam? So, what was really offered by Shabari to Lord Ramachandra was her patience. Because Shabari's guru, Matanga Rishi told Shabari while Matanga Rishi was leaving, giving up his body to go to the higher abodes. At that time, Matanga Rishi told Shabari that you stay here. Shabari asked, you are leaving, how will I attain the Lord? Right? I am just a Bhilni. I am a tribal woman. I do not know anything. I do not know all the philosophy of the scriptures. So how will I attain the Lord? And Matanga Rishi told, you do not have to go anywhere to find the Lord. One day Lord will personally come to your hermit. You just serve the Lord. And since that time, Shabari had been waiting to see Lord Ramachandra, and every day she is preparing the pathway, coming to her kutia, decorating with flowers, collecting the fruits. So what Shabari offered to Lord Ramachandra was not just the berries, the bear. Shabari offered her patience to Lord Ramachandra. She waited for so many years. In Valmiki Ramayana, it says Shabari waited for 13 years because Matanga Rishi, when he left, he told that Lord Ramachandra has arrived in Chitrakoot and then he will come to your hermit also. So from that time till Lord Ramachandra arrived actually, so it is about 13 years. But Padma Purana says another instance that Shabari waited for 10,000 years to see Lord Ramachandra. Now for us, can we have that level of patience? We are told, chant the holy name, you will be purified, your heart will be purified, the contamination will go away, and you will see the Lord face to face one day. And do we have that patience? If we become so impatient, thinking, oh, I have been chanting for 6 months, for 2 years, for 5 years, nothing is happening. I'm not feeling that magic somehow. So, because it's not about just 6 month, 2 year, 5 year, even 20 year or 40 year, or this whole lifetime, maybe very minimal actually. It's not that by a practice of 5 year, 10 year, 15 year, we can become completely purified. We have been in this material world, in this material contaminations for millions and billions of years and lifetimes. And so much contamination is there. Even after practicing 15 years, 20 years, 40 years, people may have fall down. Right? There are so many examples like that. So what is our only hope is that patience, having that patience and filled with enthusiasm and continuing with our process of sadhana. So Shabri offered her patience to Lord Ramachandra. Now, same like Shabri, we talk about Sudama, right? Sudama, when we hear Sudama, immediately what comes next in the mind is poha, chipped rice. Sudama offered some chipped rice to Lord Krishna. So again, what was Sudama's arpanam to Lord Krishna? Was it just some chipped rice that Sudama offered to Krishna? Or along with that chipped rice, what was offered by Sudama? Actually, it was his lifetime of poverty, which Sudama has forcibly overtaken on himself. That was offered by Sudama to Lord Krishna, not just the chipped rice. Because, see, Sudama, when he offered the chipped rice to Lord Krishna, the handful of chipped rice, it is not that he had that at his home. He begged that also. And it was not begged from one house. It was begged from multiple houses. So little bit from 3-4 different houses, what he got, he made that as one handful of chipped rice, and that all was offered to Lord Krishna. And in that chipped rice, so just imagine, you are offering a handful of chipped rice to Lord Krishna, and in that handful of chipped rice, there is 1 grain of basmati rice, 1 grain of Sona Masuri rice, 1 grain of brown rice, and some things like that. There are different varieties of grains of rice are there. So that was the situation of Sudama. So Sudama is not simply offering chipped rice to Krishna, but it was his lifetime of self-imposed poverty, which he is finally offering to Krishna. And same way now Gajendra, right? Gajendra, when he was in this situation of being attacked by the crocodile, 1,000 year of tussle went on between Gajendra and the Graha, elephant and the crocodile. And after that, Gajendra, he picked a lotus flower growing in that river with his trunk, and he offered that to the Lord. So what he is offering, what Gajendra is offering to Lord Krishna, what was his arpanam to Krishna, was not simply a lotus flower. He is offering his remembrance of his previous life, remembrance of his previous life activities, what bhakti he had done in previous life. Based on that, he was able to remember the prayers which he used to offer to the Lord. And that he is offering to Krishna, his remembrance of previous lifetime memory also. And Draupadi, when Draupadi was in this situation in the Asat Sabha, when she is forcibly dragged into that assembly by Dushasana and her sari is being disrobed. So at that time, she had faith in the elders in the assembly, Bhisham Pitama, Dronacharya, Kripacharya, Dhritarashtra. So she had faith, they will save me, they will do something for me. Then she had faith in her 5 husbands, that my husbands will protect me. Ultimately, when nothing worked out, then she raised her arms, both hands up, and called to Krishna, Hey Govinda, Hey Murari. So what she is offering, what was her arpanam to Krishna, was not just lifting the arms in the air and calling out to Krishna. She is offering her complete faith in Krishna. So her arpanam was complete faith. And now for Arjuna, when Krishna is speaking this verse to Arjuna, and at the end of Bhagavad Gita, after speaking all that, what Arjuna is doing is, Arjuna had left his Gandiva bow, right? Arjuna had left his bow, I do not want to fight. So Arjuna picks up his Gandiva bow and he is ready to fight. Yes, I will do as you say. Karashiye vachanam tava. So what is Arjuna's arpanam to Krishna here is complete surrender to Krishna by full following the words of Krishna and surrendering his activity for Krishna. That is Arjuna's arpanam to Krishna. So this verse, what Krishna indirectly is mentioning Brahma Arpanam, that you should sacrifice all your activities for me, for my pleasure. That will guarantee a sadhaka's achieving Krishna, achieving that spiritual destination. Because Arjuna may say, right, if we just go with the literal meaning of this verse, Krishna is talking about yajna. It appears as if Krishna is talking about some sort of yajna. So Arjuna may say, if you want me to perform yajna, yes, I will do yajna. Let's go to the forest. Let's go to some yajna shala. We will hire a priest. So I will do a yajna. You want me to do a yajna? Brahma arpanam, Brahma agnir, Brahma hutar, Brahma havir. So yes, let's do yajna. Why you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare? Ghora karma, right? That was word used by Arjuna. Why you want to engage me in this ghora karma, where I have to kill my relatives? So what Krishna is telling, this war place itself is a yajna for you. So re-envision this battlefield as yajna. How to envision this battlefield as yajna? So this battlefield, this Kurukshetra, is like the yajna sthali. Your Gandiva bow is like the ladle with which Ahuti is put into the fire. And the Ahuti, the Yajna Havir, is all the Kauravas, all these army which is assembled on the other side. So they are all the Ahuti for this Yajna. And who is going to accept that offering? That is the universal form. So Krishna had shown his universal form later on, where all people are entering into the mouth of that universal form, into the mouth of Krishna, and some soldiers are stuck as a chana stuck in the teeth of Krishna. So this battlefield is Yajna. Gandiva bow is like the ladle to put offering into the fire. The Kauravas, they are the Ahuti. And who is accepting that? That is the universal form. So same way for us as a sadhakas, whatever we are doing, it can become a yajna when it is done in Krishna conscious way. Our workplace can become like a yajna. Our office can become as a yajna sthali. Our computer can become like the ladle or spoon. What is the ahuti? Our intelligence. Right? Our intelligence is completely absorbed in Krishna, and Krishna is accepting the results which we are getting, and we are offering those results to Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, actually in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a verse states that Jiva Tattva Shakti, Krishna Tattva Shaktiman, Gita Vishnu Puran Adi, Taheta Praman. So Lord Krishna, he is the energetic, and the living entity is his energy. Jiva Tattva Shakti, Krishna Tattva Shaktiman. So who is Krishna? He is Shaktiman, and Jiva is the Shakti of Krishna. And this has been stated in Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu Purana, etc. Gita, Vishnu Purana Adi, Taheta Praman. So we are all part and parcel of Krishna, and we are supposed to serve Krishna. And Bhagavatam says, one who sees God everywhere and in all being, he is the highest spiritualist. So for such spiritualist people whose minds are completely absorbed in Krishna, their making of the sacrifice, the object of the sacrifice, the instrument of the sacrifice, the sacrificial fire, and the desired result of sacrifice, they're all perceived non-different from Krishna. So all their activity become like Krishna conscious activities. Just like the salt, when we add the salt in the water, right? So once we start adding the salt in the water, the salt is completely mixed in the water. Then you cannot say, okay, in this glass, these are the salt particles and these are the water particles. You cannot separate the salt and the water. Both are mixed completely together. They are non-different from each other. So same way, a Krishna conscious person, they are completely absorbed in Krishna. Their activities are completely dovetailed in Krishna. They are always thinking of Krishna. And the very interesting word which Krishna uses here is Brahma Karma Samadhina. Right? The last part of this verse, the last few words of this verse, Krishna says Brahma Karma Samadhina. What is the meaning of samadhi?
Complete
Samadhi means, yes. Say again.
complete absorption.
Yes, complete absorption. So samadhi means complete absorption, and complete absorption in what? Complete absorption in Krishna. Complete absorption in the Supreme Lord. So that is samadhi. Even so, samadhi really means even if you try to do other things, still the mind will not go away from Krishna. That is samadhi. Right? So no matter what activities person is doing, his mind is completely absorbed in Krishna. So even if you try to go away from Krishna, mind still does not go away. No matter if somebody is watching movie, no matter if somebody is eating outside, their mind is completely absorbed in Krishna. So that is the state of samadhi. What is our situation? We are not absorbed in Krishna, but our samadhi is in material activities. Right? Our samadhi is not in Krishna. Our samadhi is in sense enjoyment, in material activities. No matter how much we have been hearing about Krishna, how much we have attended satsang program, our samadhi is in sense enjoyment. We cannot forget those other activities. So samadhi has to be in Krishna. Our mind should be completely absorbed in Krishna. Even if you are put into some other situation where you are sitting with other people who are watching this thing or that thing, but your mind again goes back to Krishna. That is the state of samadhi. But we are completely opposite. Even though we may be sitting in temple, we may be sitting in satsang program, our mind is running to the different activities of sense enjoyment, of some other activities for our own enjoyment. So Krishna says that one need to dovetail their activities in such way that in all their activities they see me, they see the Brahman. And now, having explained the spirit in which sacrifice has to be done, now Lord Krishna explains different kinds of sacrifice people perform in this world for purification. Because the purpose of sacrifice is what? That is purification. Right? So people perform different sort of sacrifice for their purification. But what are these different sacrifices people perform? So that is from text 25 till text 30. Now Krishna is explaining all these different sacrifices people do. So text 25, Krishna says, Devam evapare yagyam yogina paryupasate brahmagnau apare yagyam yagyena eva upjuhvati. So some yogis, they perfectly worship the devatas. Devam eva pare yagyam. Some perfectly worship the devatas by offering different sacrifices to them. So what are the different sacrifices which are done for the devatas? Like offering them various gifts, various objects, putting some donation, like those. So those are the different sacrifices which are done in worship of the Devi Devatas. Then Brahma Agnau Apare Yagyam Yagyena Eva Upjhavati. And some other, they sacrifice in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. In the sacrifice of Supreme Brahman means they are sacrificing themselves in the Supreme Brahman as the sacrifice of, as we say, Atmahuti, right? Offering one's soul to the Brahman. That is their impersonal aspect of the Lord. So these different yagyas have been talked about Krishna here. Now, in these yagyas, again, let's see what are the different elements of yagya. So we talked about 5 elements of yajna. One is the fire, who accepts the ahuti, right? Or accepts the oblations put into the fire. So the fire, then the ahuti itself, then the instrument by which the ahuti is poured into the fire. Then fourth is the performer of yajna, the purohit and the yajman. Then fifth one is the goal of yajna, the result of yajna or the purpose of doing that yajna. So now when Krishna is talking about that some people, they perform sacrifice to the devatas. Now in that yajna, what are these different 5 elements? So fire, what does fire represents here? Who accepts the ahuti? Those are the demigods. So in this yajna, the Devi Devatas, they are like the fire of the yajna, who are accepting the different gifts offered to the Devi Devatas. And what are these ahuti in this yajna represent? That ahuti is the worldly possessions, the various gifts. Somebody is putting a coconut, somebody is putting a sweet box, somebody is putting $10 in the hundi, somebody is offering some cloth or some ornament or something. So these are the different objects of ahuti as worldly possessions or the gifts which are offered to the demigods, to the Devi Devatas. The performer of the yajna, the Yajman and Purohit, who are these? These are the yogi who are interested in worldly pleasures in this world or in the next. People who want to go to Swarga, people who want to go to the higher planets, right? So these type of yogis who are interested in worldly pleasures, living happily within this world or going to Swarga. And then the goal of yajna is worldly pleasure, heaven. So these are the different elements of this yajna which Krishna is mentioning, that some people, they perform Deva Yajna. Deva Yajna mentioned here is Devam eva pare yajnam yoginah paryupasate. So that is one type of yajna or one type of sacrifice which Krishna is talking about. And then the another type of sacrifice Krishna is talking about is offering of Atma to Brahman. That is the process followed by the Jnana yogis. So with different understanding of the meaning of yajna, they offer their own selves as sacrifice to the Supreme, as Atmahuti, offering one's own soul to Brahman. Their goal is, the goal of that sort of yajna is merging with Brahman as a impersonal liberation. And the fire in this yajna is who is accepting the ahuti, that is Brahman, the impersonal aspect of the Lord. The object of ahuti, so what is the ahuti which is put into this one is, they are putting the ahuti of their energy, their pleasures, their mental speculation. So they are offering everything to this Brahman. And who are the performers of this type of yajna? The yogis who are interested in giving up their individuality. They want to become one with the Supreme Lord. Right? So these are the different elements of that sort of yajna. So like that, Krishna is talking about various yajnas here. In text 26, Krishna speak about the Naishtik brahmacharis and householders, that they are also performing some sort of sacrifice. So what is the sacrifice given by the Naishtik brahmacharis is Shrotadini Indriyani Anye Samyag Agneshu Yuhvati Shabdini Vishayan Anya Indriya Agneshu Juhvati. So some performer of yajnas as unadulterated brahmacharis, they sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control. And the others, as the regulated householders, they sacrifice the object of senses in the fire of senses. So here Krishna is talking about again two type of yajna. One is performed by as a Naishtik brahmacharis, which is first part of this verse. So they turn their ears inward and offer into the fire of mental control. So what is this fire represent here? The fire of yajna is the mental control. They control their minds. And what are the ahuti put into that? they are absorbing their hearing process into hearing the transcendental sound vibration. They want to hear the message of the scriptures, and they don't want to engage in any other mundane gossip, mundane sound. So the fire is mental control, the ahuti is the sound vibration, the performer of this yajna is the nashtik brahmachari, and same way the second type of yajna which Krishna is mentioning is as the regulated grihasthas. So regulated grihasthas, they engage in regulated activities by controlling their senses. So the objects of this yajna, the ahuti of this yajna is sense enjoyment, right? Rather than engaging in unrestricted sense enjoyment, they control their senses and engage in a very regulated way. So the senses or the sense objects are the ahuti, the senses itself are the fire. And who are the performer of this yajna? The regulated householder. So ultimately, if we see all these verses, Krishna is talking about the principle of yajna as the principle of sacrifice. The human life is meant for sacrifice, and the sacrifice is for pleasure of the Supreme Lord, pleasure of Krishna. And when we do that, what is the ultimate result? One attains to the Supreme Lord, one attains to that supreme destination. Brahma eva tena gantavya. So if we can understand this text 24 in a very systematic way, very nice way, in a real message, the real meaning behind this text 24, I think the whole, this particular section of this chapter becomes very clear. What Krishna is speaking about. It's not about a simply a performance of fire sacrifice, but what does this fire sacrifice represent is all our activities need to become as Krishna conscious activities. Okay, and while performing our Krishna conscious activities, the main ingredient is our sankalpa, that is the oblations, and our enthusiasm, that is the fire for this yajna. So we'll stop here and we'll continue our discussion next week from text 27 onwards. And let's see if somebody has any question or comment on this particular section of fourth chapter. So is this verse clear or is it too difficult, too confusing?
Actually, Prabhuji, you explained very nicely with the examples.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. That was nice. Very well done.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you. Actually, this verse is recited so many times, you know. So for me personally, it was good to hear it and understand the meaning for the first time.
So actually, this verse I was hearing from somebody. It was mentioned as like in our ISKCON, right, before Prasadam, we have our Prasadam prayer. Right, so same way in some other movements, like the I don't know how many of you have heard about Chinmaya Mission. Maybe many of you may have heard the Chinmaya Mission. Right, in Chinmaya Mission also they have some kids classes like Bal Bihar. So after the class is done, when they have told some stories from Ramayana and Mahabharata, at the end they give some sweet to the children. And before giving that sweets, they will ask the kids to recite this particular verse. Okay, chapter 4, text 24. So this verse for them is like the Prasadam prayer. So, because people who are more inclined to the Brahman aspect, they utilize this sort of verse from Bhagavad Gita, thinking, oh, Krishna is talking about this. Krishna is speaking about that Brahman is the ultimate reality. Ultimate goal is Brahman. So everything is Brahman, 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 but not understanding what is the real gist behind this, what is the real message behind this verse Krishna is speaking about. That in all our activities, we need to make our activities into spiritual activities. In all our activities, we need to see Krishna as the activity itself, the performer of activity need to absorb in Krishna, and the ultimate goal is Krishna. Okay?
Prabhuji,
Yes, Vijay.
this the time duration, 13 years, 13 and 10,000 years. Can we attribute this to some sort of in that time, people used to live for thousands of years, and here now we have reduced lifespan. So, more of a theory of relativity, or can we say, is it absolute?
It's absolute also, and we can relate it to with the theory of relativity also. But yes, the 13-year mentioned here is absolute time. But 13-year also, what is the significance behind that is the waiting time, without knowing when Lord is going to come. So if somebody tells you tomorrow or just wait, that person is going to come to your home. How long can you wait? 1 day, 2 day, one month, 2 month, but years and years passing by, but not giving up that faith, right? Not giving up that faith in the words of the Guru. So that is the message behind that. It's not about the time duration. The message here is maintaining that faith, maintaining that patience. After that, it's a 6 month or 6 years is irrelevant. Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay. If not, we will stop here. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai,
Jai.
and Devotee Vaishnav Ki Jai. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
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 Krishna.
Krishna.